Well, do you think that it is now? I think we talked about this about being buying now, but do you think that that's a good time to buy?
Yes. Listen, if you have the funding, I mean, all right, best example right now happening as we speak over the last 72 hours. I put a one-bedroom condo on the market in Lakewood Park across the Altamont Mall. Investor bought it for $40,000 8 years ago, 9 years ago. I have a tenant in this place. Fantastic tenant, great, pays his bills on time religiously, kept this place in tip-top shape. I had to call him and say, John, we're getting ready to put your property on the market to sell his, getting rid of some of his inventory. Would you like to take advantage of buying it first? Since you are a tenant, you're obviously preferred client so that we don't have to go, put it on the market, help you out as well, because I know you don't want to move, as you keep telling me. So, and this gentleman easily can qualify. Had plenty of money in the bank. I got him pre-screened for one of my lenders, was able to do so. And with the amount of money he was able to put down, he would have had a cheaper payment on his mortgage than what his rent is. So, however, circumstances in his personal life changed over the last 24, 48 hours where he might get transferred or he has a better job offer. So he says, I can't commit to buy, but help me temporarily find a buyer who maybe is an investor, so I can rent back from him. Isn't out there at the moment. On the offers for this particular property, I've got owner occupants or parents who buy for their kids. Right. So did I tell him, hey, should you be buying? Absolutely. You're going to get a 3% interest rate on a property of $118,000. I mean, you're going to be at $650 a month, including HOA dues, and the mortgage is going to be $300. Why wouldn't you? And then you can write up, God knows what percentage of that. So again, is it important to buy? I would, if your finances allow it, I absolutely endorse it.
And then the next question would be, so is that, like when I was running a camera at Fox, how I got interested in real estate was I used to record this guy. His name was Tom Vu. He's a Vietnamese guy. He lived in Sweetwater Club here in Altamont Springs, and he came over on a boat from Vietnam, and he was a he
was a refugee back then.
Yes. So he was like the things you see on television. I'm going to teach you how to buy and sell real estate cheap. So he would say that's the biggest and the best investment. Would you say, Corey? Would you say no? That's like if somebody goes, I want to buy a brand new car, and I know that's obvious, but would you say no? That's the first investment for a young person.
Well, the reality is, people with money, they buy real estate for. If they're gonna buy a strip center, you got 3 bays, 3 like little retail shops for a boutique, or maybe one's got a restaurant in it and another one sells, maybe computer stuff or whatever. And so you rent it out. And so people with money buy real estate because it's a hard asset. It will appreciate in value. You get tax write-offs for that. And then on top of that, you'll have rental income. So whether you do financing, like you finance 70% of the price or 20% or 30% or 50% or whatever, people are looking at how can I take my cash and spread it amongst my properties and have a low enough monthly expense between my taxes, my property insurance, my mortgage that I may put on it, and what can I get in rent, and what's going to cost me to put a new roof on every 15 years and paint it every 10 years or whatever, or new carpet, or every time a tenant moves out. You got to kind of figure all those things out. And so you're looking at real estate as a piece of income producing real estate. So what are you going to do with it? Are you going to live in it? Is this going to be your family home? Like Andy, he's owned the property he has with his wife for a lot of years. They put a lot of money into it because they want to raise their kids there, and they're paying down their mortgage balance on it. And so in that case, they're not going to move around every couple of years. But like how I got started in real estate was I bought the first house I bought was a new house with my ex-wife. We had it built. But I also got into investment property. So I would buy, because my background was construction, I would buy properties that were distressed. They may have had a hole in the roof, or had mold and mildew damage or fire damage, or a bunch of tenants had lived there and it was just destroyed. Some of them were crack houses. They're just, all kinds of stuff that I see in real estate. I've been in the worst neighborhoods, right, and bought the worst houses that nobody wanted. And you can make good money on those properties. You fix them up, you put it in like new, you paint everything. Maybe you have to replumb it, or new roof, new yard, sprinklers, windows, doors. You make it look brand new. People walk in, it smells new, the carpet's new. It literally looks like a new model home. And the idea is to buy low, sell high. And so it depends on what your outcome is, but you got to look at your piece of real estate as something that you're putting your cash into, or you're leveraging it through a mortgage by putting a little bit of cash into it because you expect it to appreciate in value. Maybe you're going to stick a tenant in there, and you want your tenant to be able to pay you enough rent to where not only can you cover all your expenses and put money aside for, because you're going to have to save up money because the roof's going to have to be repaired in 10 years.
Right.
And so part of your reserve that you want to save every month is for those big expenses you're going to have. And so that way, if the roof goes bad, or the water heater breaks, or the kitchen gets destroyed, or just the carpet gets worn out, or whatever, or the pool needs to be remarcited, those are big expenses. And so you have to plan for those things. So you got to figure out what and ideally you want to have positive cash flow. And then so you can kind of create equity through fixing a property up, and that creates equity, or you can sit on it and let it appreciate and put tenants in there and have them, in essence, pay your mortgage. But you put the wrong tenant in there, not only will they screw your house up and destroy it and cost tens of thousands of dollars in damage, they don't pay your mortgage. So on top of that, you're still paying for a property that, in essence, even though somebody's living in it and wrecking it and costing you money, and a lot of people get in it, they don't know what they're doing. That's why somebody like Andy knows how to properly screen a tenant. So he puts a tenant in your property that actually pays their bills on time. Because in essence, it's a business. And that's the way you need to look at the house. And so your tenant is the kind of the manager of that business. They're basically managing your investment. Right. So you want to make sure they're going to keep it nice and they're going to pay their bill. And if they don't pay their bill on time, what are you going to do to get them out of there? Like what we used to do, because we would buy foreclosure properties sometimes, and you have a tenant that'd been in there for 6 months, and most of them were really nice people, but they, maybe they fell behind their payments, they lost a job or whatever, or they had a big expense, and you would go to them, and you go through the eviction process, you're 5 or 6 months, and so what we would do is we would be like, hey, we just bought this house, it was a foreclosure because the owner didn't pay because the house got destroyed and the tenant wasn't paying him, so he couldn't pay his mortgage, and they're part of the reason why he lost the house. And you're like, hey, if you guys, we were just knocking the door and say, hey, we just bought the house, they would let us come in and look, and they were planning on moving out, but you knew they were tight on cash, and we're like, hey, we're going to fix this property up and then paint it and put it on because we're going to buy it as an investment property. And so if you guys will pack all your stuff up in a U-Haul, call us when you're ready to go, we'll come over and we'll give you $1,000 or $2,000. And because it's a lot cheaper to do that versus trying to spend the money to pay an attorney to evict them and all the court costs, and then you got all those months.
And they break the windows as they leave.
Yeah, and they're pissed off. Now they're like, you're a savior to them. You're like, oh, you do that? I was like, and I'm like, yeah, they hug us, and they were like, thank you so much, because now you give them money, and they're able to go get a new place and put a deposit down, something a little cheaper and that they can afford. And you, like, to them, you're like a fucking savior. And from our perspective, it was like, we got a tenant out, and that actually saved us a lot of money. So it's a win-win for everybody. And it was great to do it. So they would call us, and we'd go over there. They'd have the U-Haul, and we'd bring beers or stuff, whatever, hang out and have a few beers with them, write the check or give them cash. And they'd hug us. They treat you like part of the family. They just love you to death because you just like change their life. And they got out of your house, and now you can get started fixing it up. And plus, the other thing we always have them do is we want everything clean when you leave. Even if the carpet's fucked up, we want it vacuumed, all the trash gone. If you have all the stuff gone, it's clean, ready to go. Here's the cash for that. And they would leave the house as clean as it could be. And it was like, it would just make things easier, especially if you're trying to, and now you start bringing investors in. And quite frankly, even though the investor is wanting to buy the property to fix it up and sell it, if you got one that's destroyed and a mess versus one that's kind of, you can tell carpet paint will look a lot better, they'll buy the one that's just cleaner versus the one that is a disaster, but you can buy it so cheap. There's such a huge profit margin just because most people don't have a vision. So it really depends on, to answer your question, what your objectives are, or your outcome is. So you have to understand that. How long it's just like buying a stock. what is your reason for investing or buying in that particular stock? And obviously, if something changes, then you get out of that stock, even if you're down, because the trend is the stock's going to go in the wrong direction. So same thing with real estate. What is your outcome? How long you plan on holding it for? What's your purpose? And like I said, people with money buy real estate because it's like a little business, because you want to get cash flow from it or rental income.
I need to kick somebody out of one of my rental properties, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, hey, listen, I need you to move out. Here's some money.
Remember Magnum PI? Remember Higgins?
Yeah, right.
So Higgins was, if you ever watched the Magnum PI in the 80s,
we'll all do
he had
that
this
now.
English dude, and he took care of this guy, Robin Masters, who you never saw him, but you would hear him on the speaker every once in a while. So he's got this nice Ferrari and this nice giant estate in the Hawaii on the ocean. And Higgins lived there and just took care of the estate. He was like the caretaker, almost like a house sitter that pays you to stay at your house. And so when you're renting a property out, or you're renting, if it's commercial and it's somebody's putting their business in there, you want somebody who's going to take good care of your property and treat it like their own. And that's where, because if you put the wrong tenant in there, they'll destroy your property and cost you tens of thousands of dollars. And a lot of people end up losing the property because they don't know how to manage it. That's why somebody like Andy can be a big help.
You have to, I want to chip in there. There's a lot of homeowners out there who, over the years, have managed their own property successfully, probably, and some of them not so much. But they don't, the majority, I'm not saying all of them, the majority is not really aware of the Florida Landlord and Tenant Act, the law in the state of Florida, which describes what you can and cannot do as a landlord/tenant. So if a tenant, like in your situation, doesn't pay rent, what is it you can do? You can knock on the door and speak, hey, when can you, what's the circumstance? How much time do you need? Has something changed? You can analyze, and you can probably get an answer somewhat on it. If it's honest or dishonest, we don't know. But how long do you want to give them? So the golden rule is of what we go by in our management firm is, because, again, we invest people like yourself, represent, and we want to make sure that this investment pays off. If a tenant, based on what your lease agreement says, they have a grace period. Rent's always due on the 1st, but depending on your lease agreement, there is a grace period, same as you have on a car note, on a credit card. It's due, but you can be up to 15 days, whatever it is. We have a 4-day grace period. So it doesn't mean you can pay me every day on the 4th, but there's a Saturday, there's a Sunday, there's a holiday. You're not considered to be late unless you pay till the end of business day on the 4th. So the 5th comes along, you're automatically late, and there's a late fee being added to your account. This late fee should be identified on your lease agreement as additional rent, not as a late fee, so that you can actually collect for that amount. So what does it say, the tenant? What's that?
Something I always thought was a better way to do it, and I always used to do because I used to sell a lot of houses and lease purchase, was that you give them a discount. Like if you pay on or before the 1st, say your rent's $2,000, if you pay on or before the 1st, you only have to pay, you can take a $200 discount and only pay $1,800.
We don't work like this. This nowadays market, I mean, it's a good idea. Depends on.
Never got a late payment from any people I did that with.
Well, in your situation, it's not like that. So not 3 off. So you're supposed to, they're late. What's today's the 29th or the 30th? So they're late by a month now, I would say, or by 3 weeks.
Yeah.
On the 5th, you should have put a so-called 3-day notice, a demand to pay, on their door or hand deliver it. Make sure it's within your county. Is it in Seminole County?
Seminole County,
Good.
yes.
If it's in a different county, you have to give them an 8-day notice. So anyways, we don't want to go too technical. So give a 3-day notice where it shows who's the name of the tenant, what's the subject property address, and the amount of money they are delinquent with. And if you do not have the late fee identified as additional rent, do not list it because you can't recuperate from it. Just list the rental amount which she's delinquent at. If it's 1 month, 2 months, you post it on there. She has then 3 business days to make up for that difference, excluding holidays and obviously Saturdays and Sundays, and then you can bring it and file for an eviction. So what do? You can do it yourself. You can get the eviction package at the county clerk of courts in Seminole County in Sanford. You can fill out the stuff yourself, submit a copy of your lease agreement or whatever other agreements you have, and that's getting processed. You don't have to pay an attorney fee. You can do it as an individual owner. If you don't have any experience in it, I would highly recommend let a law professional handle that who specializes on those things, which I can recommend you. So it costs you $300 more. But they know they can file it electronically. I mean, they know how to do it.
Sure.
So, and then, as I mentioned to you before, a half an hour ago, if she's not responding, you submit the eviction to the court. They then get served by an official from the court, get the paperwork slapped against it, or at 7 a.m. they're not going to do, hey, you've been, sued or you've been evicted. You have 15 days to state your case, but you must deposit the deficiency balance in the clerk of court's registry. If they can't do that, the judge most likely, usually all the time, will approve the eviction. And it doesn't take 6 months. Well, we're about to find out because different rulings. But it shouldn't take that long, but it usually takes 30 to 60 days.
Wow.
How much is the monthly payment on that one?
$650.
And how far behind are they?
They're really not. She's really not behind. I think she's addicted to drugs, and the whole place, it's just a mess. There's shit everywhere.
Is she getting a month to month, or
month to month? Well, there's a guy that's paying for it, and he wants her out too. And he's like, it's like maybe it's his like a girlfriend, or maybe he's a sugar daddy, but I want her out because she's affecting. And I have some other properties around there.
I have a right answer. Sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Because don't evict her on the delinquent rent. Do a non-renewal. On a non-renewal, if she's using a month to month, you only have to give her 15-day notice to be out by the end of the month. As long as you file that termination of lease by the 15th of the month. So what do we got now? August coming up. As long as you deliver her a termination of her month-to-month lease agreement, which you can download for free on one of my sites, is deliver it on or before the 15th of next month. She must be out on the 30th. If she's not out, you can evict her, and you do not have to wait 4, 5, 6 months. That's going to be a very quick one because you're not seeking liquid damages. You just want her out. Lease agreement is off. You want her out. You lose your $600. You can claim your security deposit. See you later.
How much do I pay for that advice?
This is a complimentary show.
Or you can go over and say, if you pack all your shit up in a U-Haul, come over and give you $500 cash.
There you go.
I'm going to do that.
Call me as soon as your stuff's there. Clean the house, vacuum it, throw any trash away, cut the yard. I'll come over and give you $500. That's cash.
I'm going to try that. And if that doesn't work,
that was the quickest way to get rid of them.
Yeah, I like that idea because I don't want to be
and you can also say, show me your receipt for your U-Haul, or I'll give you $50 for your U-Haul. It's only like $19.99 a day or whatever the fuck it is.
I'm going to do that because in my experience,
that's quicker.
If somebody says get out, if I tell somebody get out, they go, "Oh, you want me out?" I had a girlfriend that bought.
Just say you want to fix it up because you're going to sell it and you're going to paint it and put a new roof on and sprinkler system and you're going to put, but she's going, hey, things are tough and I'll give you $500 and just call me as soon as the U-Haul's in your driveway and all your shit's packed up. You not say it like that, but you know what I mean, diplomatically.
No.
People will love you. They're like, oh, thank you so much, because especially if she's drug addict, now you're gonna give her cash.
Yeah,
it's like that. That would be great. You'll get her out a lot quicker. You don't have to deal with court.
That sticking stuff to the door, they'll be like, oh. Excuse me, like, fuck that guy, really? Well, maybe he doesn't need this window.
Just go over and knock on the door and talk to her like a friend, It's like, hey, I know things are probably, it's tough. It's been tough on everybody, but I'm going to fix this up and sell it. And, but obviously, you can't be living there while we're tearing everything out. Yeah. And I'll give you cash to leave.
Good.
See, I'll go to the U-Haul place with you and pay for the U-Haul.
Yeah. And I like that idea about, because it's month to month. So
always worked.
I couldn't even find the lease, so that I 15 days of, hey, we're going to terminate this month to month thing. Yeah, that's good. It's good.
Well, the best way and the least expensive way is, as Corey described,
of course,
in a good manner, in a good sense. Hey, listen,
it's
I got some financial situation. I need to sell the property. I need to fix up. Can we transfer somewhere else, or can you look for something else? And I help you putting your deposit down. I'll give you up to $500. Something like that.
What do you need?
Don't be threatening. But if you say, well, screw you, have a nice fucking day, then you got to pull the legal card on it.
Yeah. No,
but then the easiest and quickest is the one I just described.
Yeah. And
James and I did it all. We had a lot of people that were in the properties. They were always in dire financial straits, and man, they were so grateful. And like I said, that they would turn the house over to you spotless, because otherwise the house is fucked up. Then you got to get a 30-yard dumpster and throw all the crap in they leave behind. Yeah. It's like, they figure all that. If they got junk, they'll go and put it in dumpsters of businesses or whatever, take it to the dump and get rid of the stuff. And it just made things easier, and everybody was happy. Instead of having somebody walk around hating your guts, now you're like, somebody thinks that you're the second coming of Christ to them, because you just if they got a lot of times they had kids too, and so you give them money that they didn't have to move to a better place that's more in their budget. Because whatever happened, maybe they got disability, or one of them got hurt on the job and they can't work or whatever. Or they want to be a stay-at-home mom.
I've been asked, people that have not paid me or not paid me well, they'll go, if I move out, will you give me a good recommendation? Sure, it's terrible. It's probably bad karma on my part, but I'll be like, sure, I'll say you paid all the time. It's no problem. Let you become someone else's
That's
problem.
another thing I'm very surprised with. We don't, when tenants move from us, good or bad tenants, I mean, bad meaning not paid on time, very rarely, I mean, I get the verification of rent from another property management firm, but there's a lot of people falling through the crap where
Crack?
other land, correct, excuse me, not crap, correct, CK, who do not verify a rental history, which is very important. Now, you can make decisions the way we approve or not approve our tenants. We do a full-blown background check, from criminal to credit to social security verification, eviction history statewide, and we verify the rental history. No matter how many good endorsements they have on their credit report, 750 scores, we still want the additional rental verification. It's the same as a mortgage verification. Every mortgage you apply for, you're going to do a VOM, a verification of mortgage, or VOR, verification of rent, just to have certainty, hey, they've been paying on time, or, well, they're paid on time, but they're called every 2 hours on something, or they destroyed this and the other.
Sure.
It might not reflect on it. So always get your ducks in a row and dig deep.
Interesting.
If you guys want to learn how to navigate and successfully close a real estate transaction in this competitive market here in 2021, please reach out to me and I will guide you properly. If you guys are currently having investment properties which you guys are managing yourself, you're not happy how your portfolio is performing, or you currently are with a management firm who is not on top of things and let things fall through the crap or doesn't communicate with you properly, please reach out to me. I will tell you all about our services at a budgeted level.